Okay, people, here we are on day 23, November 6th, 2025, with the launch of the IC solution. And this is what we call the IC Investigation Meetups. I currently don't have anyone attending the IC Investigation Meetups, so I am doing them live, accomplishing a couple things, holding myself accountable to my overriding goals, and also practicing one of my biggest fears is talking to you, that camera. That camera, to me, well, we'll get into that. But first of all, so at the beginning of every meetup, we tell people a little bit, for those new, which you are, if you happen to be watching this, we tell people what the IC solution is, what the IC is, and how it is a method that may be able to help you make change faster than anything you've ever done before in your life, because it did for me. I am a hardcore alcoholic. I've been in and out of detoxes and rehabs 16 times, and I was at a loss. I just could not control it. I could not stop drinking because there was this voice in my head that was constantly screaming, drink, 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 drink 7,000 times a day. And to top it off, it would tell me what a piece of shit I am and how I can't handle this life and how everything is scary. And the only way to overcome that would be, of course, to drink. So it wasn't until I discovered the IC solution that it all started to make sense. So what is it? Let me get so and first the point of the IC investigation meetups are so we can all start investigating the IC within us. But let's say, what is the IC? What is the IC solution? So let me tell you a little bit about that. And okay, so we're all born, right, with this default perspective that we are all the thoughts, the emotions, and the behaviors that we carry out. It's kind of the default perspective as we grow up. We are our thoughts. We are our emotions. Who else would they be? They're inside our head, right? Well, in the IC perspective, we take on a different view. And that is where we are this guy up here, our consciousness, our conscious awareness, our sentience, if you'd call it, along with the conscious brain that we're able to actively control. And then there's this guy down here, the instinctual core, the IC, which is this is all scientifically known. Obviously an oversimplification of what's going on in our head, but this IC, this instinctual core, starts with the genetic code having a different agenda and is able to use the subconscious brain, which if you go through the quick start guide, you'll see we kind of redefine the subconscious brain because that has had so many different definitions over the 200 years since it was first coined. But it's kind of more, as they call it in behavioral economics, what they refer to as the system one brain. This very fast but dumb brain that's kind of running the show for us 90% of the time. And the genetic code that kind of wants nothing but our survival is plugged into that. And that starts running well before we even come onto the show because the stuff that makes us aware, our consciousness, doesn't really start to develop. Well, it starts to develop by birth, but it's not until about 5 or 6 when we start to gain our consciousness, become aware, and start to see something. But something's running the show for us well before then, and that is the instinctual core. Now so this is known, okay, but the perspective is to start saying, hey, this is us, and then there's a totally separate entity with inside of us. Okay, so neither perspective is wrong nor right, but when you start to take on the IC perspective and see that there's something else flooding your subconscious brain that is totally outside of your conscious awareness, then something changes. So you can make distinct changes because you can learn how to separate from it and treat it like a puppy. Now you might be asking, why would I want to separate from this thing that is here specifically for my survival? Very good question. And that's because it is there for our survival. Everything it does is it's trying to help us survive. But it was built for a prehistoric age, right? A world of 30,000 years ago, a world of caveman times. it does not understand today's world. It does not understand that there are not threats around every corner. It does not understand that our tribe is no longer 100. Our tribe has become 8 billion, and it is totally confused. So everything it's doing is counterproductive. And when we learn to see what it's doing as separate from us, we could so much more easily let it pass through. And that's the core of the IC solution. And the IC investigation meetups is where we work together to investigate our instinctual cores as a team, investigating this same thing that's inside all of us. And it works the same way. It has the same general rules. And that's where, let me move on to the next slide here. And we're going to get right into the meeting, but the point of each meeting is for people to first understand what's going on. And these meetings are really for me because I'm the one in the meeting and for me to start practicing. But if you want to play along, learn a little, watch a little, and after I teach the IC solution, I like to kind of give some insight into what I've learned over the last 24 hours that I've been working in. And I've been working this IC solution for 22 days in different areas of my life. Mind you, I've been working it with the quit drinking for 8 years, and I haven't touched a drop since. And today, I don't know if I dig it too much, but I got my first IC hat logo. But who knows? Maybe it's better in different color. Eh? I don't really love it either way too much, but who cares? Here we go. Okay, so back in the good old days, this next episode, this next slide here, there used to be two voices in my head. One yelling, "I can never drink again, or I will die. I will end up in an insane asylum literally in 2 weeks because I've always almost have drank myself to death and totally incapable of making decisions." Fortunately, I never got in trouble. I always had to voluntarily check myself in, which is so damn hard when you're in the midst of a bender. But once I start drinking, it's nonstop. But before I had started drinking, this guy here, well, I was saying I'm never going to drink again. There was another guy inside my head saying, drink, 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 drink. Okay. With the IC perspective, I was able to clearly tell, break it down why it was telling me to drink. It was because it saw a bunch of fake threats because it's constantly looking for threats to our survival. And it knew that the solution is alcohol. So it was much more than me. In the beginning, it was like I thought I was drinking, to be party guy, go out and have fun. But when a lot of my friends stopped that partying and my drinking started growing and growing, it was because it was the alcohol was there for another reason. It was there for my survival because that was the only way the IC knew to overcome the fears that it thought were real matters of life and death. I could get all into that, but that's kind of just the gist of how my life got saved. Okay, so what I learned over the last 24 hours is that this program is not only here to let's see, to help us overcome the instinctual core. And this right here is basically our user's guide. You'll get to learn all the different ways that the IC is looking for threats. And it sees threats, not only immediate threats like a bear chasing you, but it sees threats on these different layers. These different layers used to be real threats. If you didn't handle these layers, you could be dead in the next week or two. Of course, like now, like physiological, you have to eat. But right now, it's telling you to eat the wrong stuff because delicious is programmed differently. Back in prehistoric times, delicious was only the stuff that made you live longer. Now, delicious is such a wide array of manufactured, processed, food-like substances that are totally poisonous for us. That's just an example. But it's setting off alarms, and then it's sending us these thoughts and emotions to get the external reaction that it's looking for. And it's in every single case, it's just looking to do three things: destroy the threat, avoid the threat, or attain the treat. And for me, for the drinking, it was always about avoiding the threat that it saw. And it saw that alcohol made the threat go away. So it begged for that alcohol. So then I learned okay, all these alarms that are going off on me are total bullshit, and I can just learn to let them pass through and treat them like literally like it was a puppy, like a puppy trying to jump on the bed that was not allowed to sleep on the bed. But that thing would continue to bark, drink, 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 until I decided it was separate from me, and we weren't gonna go by those rules anymore because it wasn't helping me survive. And just like a puppy, for me, in like a few days, like for me, it was really an aha moment. Like instantaneously, it kind of hit me because I'd been studying it for so long, and I was able to look at it from this perspective, and I saw that all the lies in my all the nonsense, the chaos in my subconscious was all lies, and I never wanted to drink again. That was 8 years ago, and now I've figured it all out so that it can apply to everyone in so many different situations. So this is what's called the radar process, which is recognize. That's to recognize all these emotions in our head, just to break them down. Ask, could it be possible? Could it possibly be happening by our instinctual core and not us? Could it be separate from it? Dissect it when you can dissect it, break it down, and then you have that aha moment and say, "Oh my gosh, I have been hijacked." And then it's to uh, reassess, I gotta pause this. Duh, reassign, total brain fart. It's just that I got too many R's. We've got recognize here, but this is where we reassign it. And in this case, in this picture, it's reassigning just to the pass through, just letting the emotions pass through. And so the lesson I wanted to teach today was that for me, what was impossible, quitting alcohol, when I thought it was me that wanted it, that other voice was me, it became so easy to quit. But the other thing that we learn here is not only how to quit things, like get rid of addictions, get rid of anxiety, emotional toxic emotions, anxiety and depression being the major two. We can learn to control that with the IC solution, but we also work to start something new, because starting something new, and for me, I work on the starting something new is launching the IC solution, because I've had all these ideas in my head and I put them all together. But one of the things for me was to get up here on stage and talk about them. Although I'd gotten rid of so much of my social anxiety because my drinking was anxiety based, I can now walk in freedom around anywhere, talk to anyone as if they're my friend. If they don't care to be my friend, I'm totally okay with that. Before, there was something screaming inside of me, this pecking, or this need for love and this need for respect. And I don't have a need for love and need for respect anymore. I can go out and respect others and love others, and if it comes back, that's fine. But that need is gone, because it's bullshit. Back then, the instinctual core needs love and respect, because if it didn't have the love and respect of the tribe, of that tribe of 100, you're out and you're dead. You cannot live on your own back then. Now there's tribes everywhere. If you don't dig your family, you can find a different family. You can find a different group of friends. There's like literally, with especially with the internet, this connected age, you can find a new tribe, find a place where you belong. And yeah, but I'm kind of getting off subject, because the point I wanted to make is that starting something new is, I've found, ev although quitting something is easy with the IC solution, starting something new involves another element. Then that's after you deactivate. For me, it was fear and doubt of saying, the fear and doubt being sent to me from the instinctual core saying, "Who do you think you are?" And so I was able to start to tame the fear and doubt, but then I had to reactivate myself to actually get into motion. And that's what we call the roar process, which is to reassess, and that's to figure out your why. And the intrigue, appreciation, engagement, self-improvement, and purpose, these are the human happiness drives, to find out why on all these layers. And then to organize, because if you don't organize and you're trying to take on this new thing and you don't know what to do next, the doubt will come in, whether it's instinctually based or not, because you don't know where you're going. But then the A is for action, single focused action. And there's a whole science behind this. And when you are doing what you want with or without a higher purpose, this single focus action, it's called flow. To get into this state of flow when you don't have when you've got this selflessness, and that selflessness comes because the instinctual core is not sending you these demands and these judgments and this fear and this anger. You're able to just move into action and flow, and that's where real processes that's where real progress is made. And then finally comes the reward. And that's not reward like, I mean, go out and eat a piece of cake. That's where the instinctual core sees that you have figured out a better way to start to survive. Because when you're living up here, all these other things get taken care of on their own at a higher level without you having to go through the stress that when the IC is forcing you to handle these things. So that's the radar and roar process. But the point I'm trying to make is that for me, quitting things with the IC solution, which was impossible before, is easy. But starting something new is next level. And here on day 22, I'm going to show you that I've had my second slip. And this is where I go over to here at the website at the instinctcenter.com. We've got places where you can go to the IC, you can set up your overriding decisions, which become your goals. And I've set up quite a few for myself. And then you can come and join us in the meetups and talk about your progress, hold yourself accountable, and anything can be done so much better with a community. And I'm starting to feel like this camera is my community. And so, and then the IC Interactive app, and that's where you can use that user's guide that I was showing you to kind of break it down. But you can also, and do the radar and roar processes. But you can also do it from your individual goals, get straight to the app through the radar and roar here. I'm not going to get into those in this meetup, but basically now I'm going to go into my goals. So you've learned a little bit about the IC solution. You've learned a little bit about why we have our IC investigative meetups. So if you want to check out, that's just fine, because right now I'm going to go through my goals and talk about how failure is not, doesn't mean you crash and burn. I had my second slip in starting something new because I find like right now I've got to place the importance of sticking to the schedule and sticking to my routine. Otherwise, it kind of fades away. And that 90% brain that I talked about, that system one brain, the subconscious, kind of takes over and gets me moving down a path because I am like, if you have a job and you have to be there because you'll get fired if you're not there, you got great accountability. But this is something I'm trying to start, trying to help the world, trying to launch it to the world. But I could just as easily walk outside and go for a run or sit in front of a TV or go play golf. And there's and for a long time there was this that fear and doubt being sent by the IC saying, "Who do you think you are trying to teach something to the world?" would overcome me and let me go to do that. So now on day 22 that I'm actually using this IC goal tracker, I've had a couple slips, but and I found that it's not really that I'm letting the instinctual core win. It's just that I'm not sticking to the routine. And that routine involves me getting up at 5:02. And yesterday, well, so basically what happened over the last 5 days is that I had to go to a run around the southeast to take my son to soccer games. I had some major dental work. See how beautiful my teeth are right now. I actually have a white a filter so that I'm able to edit my own videos without thinking, "Oh my gosh, I am an old fuck." And it involves a little bit of teeth whitening in the filter. And now they're way too white because they were much yellower before. I didn't do it because I care about my teeth. Well, kind of for aesthetic, but basically these teeth have been grinding away at these teeth because these are veneers that I got when I was like 20 because I got uh because I don't need to get into that one. But this strong porcelain was grinding away these teeth, and my bottom teeth are almost gone, which you could see in some older videos. And then even it was one was cracked. So now I've got it so that I'll have teeth for the rest of my life, hopefully. Um, uh, Great work was done. Okay, but the a point is the soccer and this dental work got me out of my routine. And then coming back on Wednesday was my day back from being out of my routine. I had not been doing my routine long enough where I'm like getting up at 5:02, getting up at starting my workout at 5:02 is so critical to me to for me to slip into the whole routine of the day. Yesterday I didn't get. I'm like, I can sleep in, no big deal. And then and when I was looking at the slip yesterday, it kind of tragically went from, oh well, now I'm not really into this. I'm kind of off the track, and boom, I lost a day. Um, and that's okay because I learned from it. Check it out. Here's a photo that I took this morning of my backyard at 5:03 a.m. I'm sorry, I was a minute late, but uh, that's my ninja gym that I set up for my American Ninja training. Well, long story, but I right after I took that photo, I head out there. I do have a funny story about that. See these weights down here? After about 30 minutes into the workout, I stepped on one of these weights, and I'm really good at falling because I've fallen a lot running in trails and whatnot. So I can fall without twisting my ankle, but it involves like totally collapsing. And so when I started to fall, I fell on my back and landed on my back on another weight. So yeah, that was the end of my workout. Cut a little bit short, but either way, I got there, and I'm tracking my workouts and I'm tracking my prog. Well, so let me tell you about my goals here. And I'm just going off the cuff here, but when we are in the instinctual meetups together, we'll all talk about. I've got a whole bunch set up here, but I want people to come when they have that bottleneck. And that bottleneck for me was overcome alcohol addiction because so much you can learn so much just from working one. Like I learned about all my fears and that my bullshit fears about the pecking order, like what people thought of me, fears of being loved, fears of not having enough on the safety layer. When I always had another dollar in my pocket, as my dad used to say. Like I was never on the streets, but because we get bombarded with seeing billionaires nonstop and celebrities and these anomalies of people, one in a million, you think, oh, that's what I should. The instinctual core just knows that it's got to compete against everyone in the tribe. People of your same age bracket, you've got to get to the top of the tribe, to survive and continue the species, get food first, all that stuff. You don't need to compete against 8 billion people in this world at all. It's impossible. There's always going to be someone better than you. There's someone better looking, someone smarter, someone funnier, someone cooler, someone stronger. It's just ridiculous. So now I can walk into any room and not give a shit who's better than me. There's that IC that used to size people up. I don't do that anymore. And so that's kind of all the things that I learned when I was just investigating my alcohol addiction. But now, um, I recommend when you want to take it to the next level and start to snowball this effect, you start with one thing, one goal first, separate from your instinctual core, because that is the most important thing, is to constantly trying to shift mindsets from this perspective that our thoughts are not our own, to remember if all of a sudden you see those nachos and you want to eat those nachos, that's not you. It's the IC inside saying you need that to survive. And you can quickly say, bullshit, no, I don't. So separating from, and that's the case with all of these. Now, my next goal was to overcome anxiety, and I'm making a lot of progress here. It's to overcome anxiety of the camera, of you. I, in the beginning, 22 days ago, like I've created the IC solution to handle millions of people, but now I'm going through this launch period where I'm sitting here posting videos. And before I was so self-conscious about that, I was no longer self-conscious to walk out into a group of people, but still remain self-conscious about talking to a camera because the instinctual core saw that as 8 billion people, me jumping up to the top of the whole world. And that's bullshit. I'm just trying to help people out that are similar minded like me that are in trouble, and this solution might work. It's a different way. It's certainly a different method than everything out there. And it's so on the other spectrum of the spiritual solution, which I tried. I tried the 12 steps forever, and they just didn't work for me. For those who does work for, that's fantastic. If you've got that if you've got that faith and that connection with a God of your understanding. And I tried so hard to make that connection. I came to believe in a power higher than myself, but I still never made that connection where it came in and did anything for me. So rather than that, I see myself, my consciousness and my conscious brain totally capable of handling life, but there's this thing inside of me that is totally capable of destroying my life if I believe it's part of me. As soon as I separate from it, it's just like training a little puppy, and it becomes so easy. So that's why after 22 days, I'm totally able to comfortably talk to the camera. Although there's still quite a few ins, and buts, and forgetting of words like reassign. Uh, instead, maybe I shouldn't have used so many R's, but that's not the point. Okay, now starting something new is to actually follow through with the launch, and that is when I come over here and I've got this structured day, basically where I ignite the body, maintain a proactive home, ignite the mind, and maintain a proactive office, so that I get. And if you remember from the radar process, and the roar process. Sorry, let me just pop that up here. Um, the roar process, you want to be able to organize, right? And so I'm if I'm underwater with all the minutia of the day, then I won't have these large periods of times where can work on the videos and do all the other things that's involved in reaching the world. And that's what happened yesterday, right? So that's the goal of why I keep this strict for me, I keep this strict routine where I handle all the minutia to open up these spaces where I could just have no interruptions at all. Um, and then overcome unhealthy nutrition ever since I started 22 days ago. Now that I'm tracking, I have not put any what I consider poisons in my body. I'm sticking strictly to my body, to what is my diet. It's different. I'm not a dietitian, different for everyone. But I've with the upping in the exercise program, I've already gone from 186.6 pounds back, and I'm back in the 170s. And basically, I'm not trying to lose, I'm trying to get back to my fighting weight, which is around 160, 165 to 169. And I'm in 22 days, I'm making a lot of progress. I want to get back up to 35 pull-ups, try and get a muscle up in, get back to a 6:15 mile. I just came in second place in a 5K over the weekend at 7:18 mile, which second place in a local 5K. That's kind of lame, but I know. I mean, I can get back down to a 6:30 in a 5K. So making a lot of progress in 20 days. But here's where I had my slip, and I pronounced that yesterday and did that slip. And then, of course, you see that how the priority when you're setting a new goal, you say that like family is the most important thing in your life, like a 10, right? When you're making a change, when you're trying to rewrite the code of your subconscious and retrain the instinctual core, you've got to set the priority to exponentially higher. And that's where I slipped on this start something new, is that with just a few days away, I forgot that this is so important. And it starts with making that 5 a.m. workout to progress into the day. I don't need to make 5 a.m. workouts for the rest of my life, but I have to make it until I ingrain a routine. And then I can start playing with the routine, but I just want to keep the routine constant for now until I become a man in motion. And I'm trying to, what I trying to achieve the great life flip. And that is, let me show you a picture of that. It's like where before, that's not the right one. Don't worry about all that. Before my life when I was drinking, I was completely controlled by alcohol. Like I was in a constant state of fight or flight, constant state of stress, even though I was achieving at a pretty high level in certain times of my life. But it was always about getting the stuff done so that I could go get the pleasure of the bottle. Until I realized it wasn't about that at all. It was about the instinctual core, feeling like I was in the midst of a battle and the only solution was alcohol, the only escape from the the gladiator arena was alcohol. The only way to defeat the threats and to avoid the threats and to attain the treats was alcohol. I mean, it was messed up until the progression of how much alcohol I needed became more than I could handle without just going off into oblivion. And so now I'm trying to move to a life that's chosen by me. And I'm getting real close. But with all these with all these overriding decisions going through right now, there's going to be slips. And we don't want to be upset by slips. Failure is awesome if we learn through it. Uh, and that's what I've done. And I've had in these 22 days, I've had two slips. One on this one, and yeah, it was basically both based on following my routine. And now I got to kind of plug it into this thick skull of mine that's the thing that has to keep on going. All right, so that's kind of what's going on with me. Um, I want you to know if you made it through this, which you didn't need to, I'm going to be doing a few more videos today. I'm making a lot of support videos. I'm already up to 0 views and 0 subs and 0 people coming to my meeting. I suspect by day 90, that's going to be up to maybe 100 views on something. But I'm just know that if I keep on progressing day by day, posting and posting and posting, this message is important for a lot of people. It's not going to be the message that saves everyone, but for a lot of us that are stuck in addiction, depression, anxiety, whatever, this will hit. Because when it hit for me, when I discovered it, it's what changed everything right away. So if you feel like it might be that for you, like this video, that'll help other people. Subscribe, that'll help other people. But come to theinstinctcenter.com and let's start talking. Let's start investigating our ICs together, and it will change your life. And it may even save your life like it saved mine. Okay, so that's all I got. See you tomorrow. Out.